Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Skyrim. Last time we visited Angie's camp, completed all of her exercises, and found our way to Bloodlet Throne. It is a den of vampires, and we're here to destroy the vampire Vighar, Dengir's ancestor from Falkreath. I will point out that we're going to face a new type of opponent here. We're going to run into gargoyles, which we haven't seen before. Gargoyles only exist in the Dawnguard plugin. If you don't have Dawnguard, they just won't be here. You can see the pressure plate here, but since I took the light foot perk, nothing happens.
Must to burn when the mortals get organized.
And let's get ready. I need to save before each fight because, as you know, with vampires it's iffy whether or not I can outlast them using just my flame spell.
What's that? I knew I smelled blood.
Another vampire. Let's deal with vamp first. Heavy armor 4. Looks like he's actually stronger than the vampire is. Yep, he seems to be the bandit marauder type. So I need to be very careful. He triggered that late, not me. I don't want to get down there because you can see the gargoyle statues. Typically the way they work is they burst and join the fight. This guy is too tough. Oh, it's good to use the face. He's got a stronger weapon than I'm used to. High leveler now, these guys are usually stuck in iron or steel. But no matter, we got him. He's obviously too strong to reanimate, so I won't bother. But I think we probably can reanimate the blooded vampire. Let's heal up and find out. She died over here. You see those statues down there? Any level with gargoyles, those statues will be there. Not all of them are enemies, but obviously some of them are. And you won't even have the statues without Dawnguard. That spot would just be empty. Two opponents. My carry weight looks pretty okay, so let's get on with it. Excellent. I think I can probably do all flames with her. Perfect. Alright, let's go down here now. Let's see which one of these is gonna burn out. Gargoyles. This is the basic version. I think he's only level 6. But you'll notice that every time he hits me, there's an absorb health effect on his overall attack. That can be a much bigger problem when you're dealing with the stronger flavors. Level, I think he's level 6 and he's reanimatable. I'll find out. Here's a wooden door, but it's barred from the other side. seen this enough times to know that that'll eventually be our exit. Still doing alright on carry weight. That's good. How strange this last one. Like, strange. Oh well, works for me. Let's keep moving then.
I love it when dinner walks right.
It's gonna say huge in here. And this one's also low level, which is nice. It means I can kill her with my destruction magic. I think she's almost certainly weak enough to be reanimated. Wolf Queen V5. Let me see, I think I've read this one, but I'm not certain. Yes. Now you'll notice that some of that stuff this stuff has stolen tags. I have no idea why. That's downright creepy. Let's bag this one. She might be too weak for this, but I think she can take it. We'll find out. Hey, Conjuration 96. That's phenomenal. 4 ranks to go. Right over here. Dancing Fire V3. We've read that one. Song of Pelinal V2 we've read. I think. Yes, we have. Bear of Markarth we've read. England Sea Ghosts we've read. Spirit of Nirn. That one I think might be new. It is. Spirit of Nirn. Lorcan is the spirit of Nirn, the god of all mortals. This does not mean all mortals necessarily like him or even know him. Most elves hate him, thinking creation is that act which sundered them from the spirit realm. Most humans revere him or aspects of him as the herald of existence. The creation of the mortal plane, the mundus, Nirn, is a source of mental anguish to all living things. All souls know deep down they came originally from somewhere else, and that Nirn is a cruel and crucial step to what comes next. What is this next? Some wish to return to the original state, the spirit realm, and that Lorcan is the demon that hinders their way. To them, Nirn is a prison, an illusion to escape. Others think that Lorcan created the world as the testing ground for transcendence. To them, the spirit realm was already a prison, that true escape is now finally possible. There we go, Antecedents of Dwemer Law we've read. Search everything else. Still got over 100 pounds of spare carry weight, so should be okay. Here we have an iron ore vein. And it's possible to attract a lot of enemies at once in the next area, so I want to be careful and manage that as best I can. Got 3 already. 4. to do, but I'm not sure how I'd avoid it either.
I'm going to an
Right, we got a vampire. Another blooded vampire. Looks like everybody else is caught up to me too. Good grief. Right, an ancient vampire, that's almost definitely going to be too strong, especially if it's a caster. Good grief. I don't know how I'm expected to fight all of those all at once. That's insanity. Maybe we can settle them down. We just pop back here and go into stealth mode. My carry weight's getting high anyway.
You should have kept running.
Yeah, I guess I should. Broader level. Let's just get a little farther away. See if we can wait out their surge. Took down a fucking army already. I need a chance to recover. Breton is dead. That was just one of those anonymous corpses that they reanimated.
Oh, must have run off.
Well, let's give the thrall some more time to...
What was that?
Well, shit. She seems to be stuck in this room.
Now your blood is mine.
Good God. At least I have my health back. Need to kill this thrall. her. Let's try and deal with this. Jesus Christ, Marie. What is all that? More friggin' enemies over there. Do you see that beyond the wall? This is unfucking believable. What it's trying to do to me here. She somehow cut off my shout. Alright, I can only think of one way to kill her fast enough. I gotta find a safe spot to transform. Just gotta get far enough away. And I gotta get it done. Alright, you're mine now, Hodag. That's how we do things. Waiting an hour should get rid of the transformation. Now it's not letting me search her body. It's also really annoying. Restoration 56, that's ready. Now, it's not letting me search her. I can solve that problem with the console. Just take her stuff that way, since for whatever glitchy reason I'm locked out of her corpse. Okay. Well, that could have gone more smoothly, but the good news is there's hardly anything left now. And there's the Breton armed with a ridiculously strong ebony dagger. Here's our gargoyle. We can reanimate him, I know. I believe there's still a blooded vampire in here that I haven't even managed to search. But we'll deal with that when we get to it. Meantime, there's one right here, subject to reanimation. Bottom line is, I was not kidding when I told you this place was a nest of vampires. There's a freaking ton of them in here. Another one right here. Same idea. And one right there as well. Do the blooded first. vampire, then blooded vampire. Then I want to say comes vampire mistwalker, or mistwalker vampire, whichever one has mistwalker in it. Then ancient vampire, then Vighar vampire, and then Master vampire. I think I'm not certain though. And let's move forward. An ash pile here. It's a Khajiit that somebody else had reanimated. And here's that other blooded vampire. Deal with her the same way we deal with all the others. And I know I'm over encumbered now, but I'm just going to push through this dungeon. Alright, let's continue on then. Garlic, honeycomb, basket, dwarven arrow. And over here in the water, poor anonymous skeleton. Of course, this is gonna happen. These guys I have to punch. Let's just keep on keeping on. Here's where we saw those vampires sitting. Naturally, they've got more bloody body parts on the table. Bear of Markarth we've read. Wolf Queen v4 is a new one. And it goes as follows. The Wolf Queen, Book 4, by Walkin Jarth. From the pen of the 1st century 3rd era sage Montakai, 3rd era 109. 10 years after being crowned Emperor of Tamriel, Antiochus Septim had impressed his subjects with little but the enormity of his lust for carnal pleasures. By his second wife, Gysilla, he had a daughter in the year 104, who he named Kintyra after his great-great-great-grandaunt, the Empress. Enormously fat and marked by every venereal disease known to the healers, Antiochus spent little time on politics. His siblings, by marked contrast, excelled in this field. Magnus had married Helena, the Cyrodiil queen of Lilmoth, the Argonian priest-king having been executed, and was representing the imperial interests in Black Marsh admirably. Sepphoris and his wife Bianchi were ruling the Hammerfell kingdom of Ghislaine with a healthy brood of children, but no one was more politically active than Potema, the Wolf Queen of the Skyrim kingdom of Solitude. 9 years after the death of her husband, King Mantiarco, Potema still ruled as regent for her young son Uriel. Their court had become very fashionable, particularly for rulers who had a grudge to bear against the emperor. All the kings of Skyrim visited Castle Solitude regularly, and over the years emissaries from the lands of Morrowind and High Rock did as well. Some guests came from even farther away. 3rd era 110. Potema stood at the harbor and watched the boat from Pyandonia arrive. Against the gray breaking waves where she had seen so many vessels of Tamrielic manufacture, it looked less than exotic. Insectoid, certainly, with its membranous sails and rugged chitin hull, but she had seen similar, if not identical, seacraft in Morrowind. No, if not for the flag, which was markedly alien, she would not have picked out the ship from others in the harbor. As the salty mist ballooned around her, she held out her hand in welcome to the visitors from another island empire. The men aboard were not merely pale, they were entirely colorless, as if their flesh were made of some white limpid jelly, but she had been forewarned. At the arrival of the king and his translators, she looked directly into their blank eyes and offered her hand. The king made noises. "His great majesty King Orgnum," said the translator, haltingly, "expresses his delight at your beauty. He thanks you for giving him refuge from these dangerous seas." "You speak Cyrodiilic very well," said Potema. "I am fluent in the languages of 4 continents," said the translator. "I can speak to the denizens of my own country, Pyandonia, as well as those of Atmora, Akavir, and here in Tamriel. Yours is the easiest, actually. I was looking forward to this voyage. Please tell His Highness that he is welcome here, and that I am entirely at his disposal," said Potema, smiling. Then she added, "You understand the context? That I am just being polite?" "Of course," said the translator, and then made several noises at the king, which the king reacted to with a smile. While they conversed, Potema looked up the dock and saw the now familiar gray cloaks watching her while they spoke with Levlet, Antiochus's man, the Sigic order from the Somerset Isle, very bothersome. "My diplomatic emissary, Lord Vaken, will show you to your rooms," said Potema. "Unfortunately, I have some other guests as well who require my attention. I hope your great majesty understands." His great majesty King Orgnum did understand, and Potema made arrangements to dine with the Pyandonians that evening. Meeting with the Sigic order required all of her concentration. She dressed in her simplest black and gold robe and went to her stateroom to prepare. Her son Uriel was on the throne, playing with his pet Jucat. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning, darling," said Potema, lifting her son in the air with feigned strain. "Talos, but you're heavy. I don't think I've ever carried such a heavy 10-year-old. "That's probably because I'm 11, said Uriel, perfectly aware of his mother's tricks. "And you're going to say that as an 11-year-old I should probably be with my tutor." "I was fanatical about studying at your age," said Potema. "I am king," said Uriel petulantly. "But don't be satisfied with that," said Potema. "By all rights you should be emperor already. You understand that, don't you?" Uriel nodded his head. Potema took a moment to marvel at his likeness to the portraits of Tiber Septim, the same ruthless brow and powerful chin. When he was older and lost his baby fat, he'd be a spitting image of his great-great-great-great-great-granduncle. Behind her, she heard the door opening and an usher bringing in several gray cloaks. She stiffened slightly, and Uriel, on cue, jumped down from the throne and left the stateroom, pausing to greet the most important of the Sigics. "Good morning, Master Iachesis," he said, enunciating each syllable with a regal accent that made Potema's heart soar. "I hope your accommodations at Castle Solitude meet with your approval." "They do, King Uriel, thank you," said Iachesis, delighted and charmed. Iachesis and his Sigics entered the chamber, and the door was shut behind them. Potema sat only for a moment on the throne before stepping off the dais and greeting her guests. "I am so sorry to have kept you waiting," said Potema. "To think that you sailed all the way from the Somerset Isles, and I should keep you waiting any longer. You must forgive me." "It's not all that long a voyage," said one of the gray cloaks, angrily. "It isn't as if we sailed all the way from Pyandonia." "Ah, you've seen my most recent guests, King Orgnum and his retinue," said Potema breezily. "I suppose you think it unusual, me entertaining them, as we all know the Pyandonians mean to invade Tamriel. You are, I take it, as neutral in this as you are in all political matters?" "Of course," said Iachesis proudly. "We have nothing to gain or lose by the invasion. The Sigic order preceded the organization of Tamriel under the Septim dynasty, and we shall survive under any political regime." "Rather like a flea on whatever mongrel happens along, are you?" said Potema, narrowing her eyes. "Don't overestimate your importance, Iachesis. Your order's child, the Mages Guild, has twice the power you have, and they are entirely on my side. We are in the process of making an agreement with King Orgnum. When the Pyandonians take over, and I am in my proper place as Empress of this continent, then you shall know your proper place in the order of things." With a majestic stride, Potema left the stateroom, leaving the gray cloaks to look from one to the other. "We must speak to Lord Levlet," said one of the gray cloaks. "Yes," said Iachesis, "perhaps we should." Levlet was quickly found at his usual place at the Moon and Nausea Tavern. As the three gray cloaks entered, led by Iachesis, the smoke and the noise seemed to die in their path. Even the smell of tobacco and flynn dissipated in their wake. He rose and then escorted them to a small room upstairs. "You've reconsidered," said Levlet with a broad smile. "Your emperor," said Iachesis, and then corrected himself. "Our emperor originally asked for our support in defending the west coast of Tamriel from the Pyandonian fleet in return for 12 million gold pieces. We offered our services at 50. Upon reflection on the dangers that a Pyandonian invasion would have, we accept his earlier offer. The Mages Guild has generously, perhaps for as low as 10 million gold pieces, said Iaptus quickly. Over the course of dinner, Potema promised King Orgnum through the interpreter to lead an insurrection against her brother. She was delighted to discover that her capacity for lying worked in many different cultures. Potema shared her bed that night with King Orgnum, as it seemed the polite and diplomatic thing to do. As it turned out, he was one of the better lovers she had ever had. He gave her some herbs before beginning that made her feel as if she was floating on the surface of time, conscious only of the gestures of love after she had found herself making them. She felt herself like the cooling mist, quenching the fire of his lust over and over and over again. In the morning, when he kissed her on the cheek, and said with his bald-wide eyes that he was leaving her, she felt a stab of regret. The ship left harbor that morning, en route to the Somerset Isles and the imminent invasions. She waved them off to sea as she heard footsteps behind her. It was Levlet. "They will do it for 8 million, your highness," he said. "Thank Mara," said Potema. "I need more time for an insurrection. Pay them from my treasury, and then go to the imperial city and get the 12 million from Antiochus. We should make a good profit from this game, and you, of course, will have your share." 3 months later, Potema heard that the fleet of the Pyandonians had been utterly destroyed by a storm that had appeared suddenly off the Isle of Artaeum, the home port of the Sigic Order. King Orgnum and all of his ships had been utterly annihilated. "Sometimes making people hate you," she said, holding her son Uriel close, "is how you make a profit." And we just have some clutter and another copy of good old Uncommon Taste. Let's keep moving. Got another skull, a couple more baskets, and a ramp leading up. Yet another skull. Novice locked cage door. Well, I have 6 spare picks, so let's break those first. Four, 3, 2, 1, and done. Just a death bell sitting in there, no big deal. More skulls. I guess we had a bucket of skulls in that cart, but it got jostled. Let's move up here. Just keep on keeping on. This is where that gargoyle burst out of his statue. That's what that effect is, in case you were curious. Goat hide got bumped off of somewhere. Alright, more books. We've read Ancestors in the Dunmer, we've read Antecedents of Dwemer Law, and we've read the Book of Daedra. Is empty, so let's go over here. Read the Oblivion Crisis. Read Dunmer of Skyrim. We read Song of the Eskeldamen. Read all of the Real Baron Zaya. This one is new. Argonian Account, Book 3, by Wogan Jarth. Decimus Scotti was supposed to be in Gideon, a thoroughly imperialized city in southern Black Marsh, arranging business dealings to improve commerce in the province on behalf of Lord Vannick's building commission and its clients. Instead, he was in a half-submerged, rotten little village called Hicksinoeg, where he knew no one, except for a drug smuggler named Chero Gamullis. Gamullis was not at all perturbed that the merchant caravan had gone north instead of south. He even let Scotty share his bucket of trode, tiny little crunchy fish he had bought from the villagers. Scotty would have preferred them cooked, or at any rate dead, but Gamullis blithely explained that dead cooked trode are deadly poison. If I were where I was supposed to be, Scotty pouted, putting one of the wriggling little creatures in his mouth, I could be having a roast and some cheese and a glass of wine. I sell moon sugar in the north and buy it in the south, he shrugged. You have to be more flexible, my friend. My only business is in Gideon, Scotty frowned. Well, you have a couple choices, replied the smuggler. You could just stay here. Most villages in Argonia don't stay put for very long, and there's a good chance Hicks and Oak will drift right down to the gates of Gideon. Might take you a month or two, probably the easiest way. That'd put me far behind schedule. Next option, you could join up with the caravan again, said Gamullis. They might be going in the right direction this time, and they might not get stuck in the mud, and they might not be all murdered by Naga highwaymen. Not tempting, Scotty frowned. Any other ideas? Ride the routes. The Underground Express, Gamullis grinned. Follow me. Scotty followed Gamullis out of the village and into a copse of trees shrouded by veils of wispy moss. The smuggler kept his eye on the ground, poking at the viscous mud intermittently. Finally, he found a spot which triggered a mass of big, oily bubbles to rise to the surface. Perfect, he said. Now the important thing is not to panic. The express will take you due south, that's the wintertide migration, and you'll know you're near Gideon when you see a lot of red clay. Just don't panic, and when you see a mass of bubbles, that's a breathing hole you can use to get out. Scotty looked at Gamullis blankly. The man was talking perfect gibberish. What? Gamullis took Scotty by the shoulder and positioning him on top of the mass of bubbles. You stand right here. Scotty sank quickly into the mud, staring at the smuggler, horror-struck. And remember to wait till you see the red clay, and then the next time you see bubbles, push up. The more Scotty wriggled to get free, the faster he sunk. The mud enveloped Scotty to his neck, and he continued staring, unable to articulate anything but a noise like oog. And don't panic at the idea that you're being digested. You could live in a rootworm's belly for months. Scotty took one last panicked gasp of air and closed his eyes before he disappeared into the mud. The clerk felt a warmth he hadn't expected all around him. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was entirely surrounded by a translucent goo and was traveling rapidly forward, southward, gliding through the mud as if it were air, skipping along an intricate network of roots. Scotty felt confusion and euphoria in equal measures, madly rushing forward through an alien environment of darkness, spinning around and over the thick fibrous tentacles of the trees. It was as if he were high in the sky at midnight, not deep beneath the swamp in the Underground Express. Looking up slightly at the massive root structure above, Scotty saw something wriggle past, an 8-foot-long, armless, legless, colorless, boneless, eyeless, nearly shapeless creature riding the roots. Something dark was inside of it, and as it came closer, Scotty could see it was an Argonian man. He waved, and the disgusting creature the Argonian was in flattened slightly and rushed onward. Gamullis's words began to reappear in Scotty's mind at this sight. The wintertide migration, airhole, you're being digested. These were the phrases that danced around as if trying to find some place to live in a brain which was highly resistant to them coming in, but there was no other way to look at the situation. Scotty had gone from eating living fish to being eaten alive as a way of transport. He was in one of those worms. Scotty made an executive decision to faint. He awoke in stages, having a beautiful dream of being held in a woman's warm embrace. Smiling and opening his eyes, the reality of where he really was rushed over him. The creature was still rushing, madly, blindly forward, gliding over roots, but it was no longer like a flight through the night sky. Now it was like the sky at sunrise, in pinks and reds. Scotty remembered Gamullis telling him to look for the red clay, and he would be near Gideon. The next thing he had to find was the bubbles. There were no bubbles anywhere. Though the inside of the worm was still warm and comfortable, Scotty felt the weight of the earth all around him. Just don't panic, Gamullis had said, but it was one thing to hear that advice and quite another to take it. He began to squirm, and the creature began to move faster at the increased pressure from within. Suddenly, Scotty saw it ahead of him, a slim spire of bubbles rising up through the mud from some underground stream, straight up through the roots to the surface above him. The moment the rootworm went through it, Scotty pushed with all of his might upward. bursting through the creature's thin skin. The bubbles pushed Scotty up quickly, and before he could blink, he was popping out of the red slushy mud. 2 gray Argonians were standing under a tree nearby, holding a net. They looked in Scotty's direction with polite curiosity. In their net, Scotty noticed, were several squirming, furry, rat-like creatures. While he addressed them, another fell out of the tree. Though Scotty had not been educated in this practice, he recognized fishing when he saw it. "Excuse me, lads," Scotty said jovially. "I was wondering if you'd point me in the direction of Gideon." The Argonians introduced themselves as Drawing Flame and Furl of Fresh Leaves, and looked at one another, puzzling over the question. "Who you seek?" asked Furl of Fresh Leaves. "I believe his name is," said Scotty, trying to remember the contents of his long-gone file of Black Marsh contacts in Gideon. "Arkine Right Foot Rock?" Drawing Flame nodded. "For 5 gold, show you way. Just east is plantation east of Gideon. Very nice." Scotty thought that the best business he had heard of in 2 days, and handed Drawing Flames the 5 septims. The Argonians led Scotty onto a muddy ribbon of road that passed through the reeds, and soon revealed the bright blue expanse of Topal Bay far to the west. Scotty looked around at the magnificent walled estates, where bright crimson blossoms sprang forth from the very dirt of the walls, and surprised himself by thinking, "This is very pretty." The road ran parallel to a fast-moving stream running eastward from Topal Bay. It was called the Oncobra River, he was told. It ran deep into Black Marsh, to the very dark heart of the province. Peeking past the gates to the plantations east of Gideon, Scotty saw that few of the fields were tended. Most had rotten crops from harvests past, still clinging to wilted vines, orchards of desolate, leafless trees. The Argonian serfs who worked the fields were thin, weak, near death, more like haunting spirits than creatures of life and reason. 2 hours later, as the 3 continued their trudge east, the estates were still impressive, at least from a distance. The road was still solid, if weedy, but Scotty was irritated, horrified by the field workers in the agricultural state, and no longer charitable towards the area. Furl of Fresh Leaves and How much further? Furl of Fresh Leaves and Drawing Flame looked at one another, as if that question was something that hadn't occurred to them. "Arkine is east?" Furl of Fresh Leaves pondered. "Near or far?" Drawing Flame shrugged non-committally and said to Scotty, "For 5 gold, show you way. Just east is plantation. Very nice." "You don't have any idea, do you?" Scotty cried. "Why couldn't you tell me that in the first place, when I might have asked someone else?" Around the bend up ahead there was the sound of hoofbeats, a horse coming closer. Scotty began to walk towards the sound to hail the rider, and didn't see Drawing Flame's taloned claws flash out and cast the spell at him. He felt it, though. A kiss of ice along his spine, the muscles along his arms and legs suddenly immobile as if wrapped in rigid steel. He was paralyzed. The great curse of paralysis, as the reader may be unfortunate enough to know, is that you continue to see and think even though your body does not respond. The thought that went through Scotty's mind was, "Damn." For Drawing Flame and Furl of Fresh Leaves were, of course, like most simple day laborers in Black Marsh, accomplished illusionists, and no friend of the Imperial. The Argonians shoved Decimus Scotty to the side of the road, just as the horse and rider came around the corner. He was an impressive figure, a nobleman in a flashing dark green cloak the exact same color as his scaled skin, and a frilled hood that was part of his flesh and sat upon his head like a horned crown. "Greetings, brothers," the rider said to the 2. "Greetings, Arkine Rightfoot Rock," they responded, and then Furl of Fresh Leaves added, "What is my lord's business on this time of day?" No rest, the Arkine sighed regally. "One of my she-workers gave birth to twins. Twins! Fortunately, there's a good trader in town for those, and she didn't put up too much of a fuss. And then there's a fool of an Imperial from Lord Vannick's building commission I am supposed to meet with in Gideon. I'm sure he'll want the grand tour before he opens up the treasury for me. Such a lot of fuss." Drawing Flame and Furl of Fresh Leaves sympathized, and then, as Arkine Rightfoot Rock rode off, they went to look for their hostage. Unfortunately for them, gravity being the same in Black Marsh as elsewhere in Tamriel, their hostage, Decimus Scotty, had continued to roll down from where they left him, and was, at that moment, in the Oncobra River, drowning. There's that one. Let's keep going. Oh, look. An all by, that one little gout of flame was enough to raise destruction to 54. Solid work. 3 punches and flames, as per the usual. Alright, let's search this room first. They kind of form a loop. That other hallway is the way we want to go. Get all this stuff. An apprentice-locked cage door. Let's get this one open, since I have no spare picks. And I'll get back to it in just a moment. Real life people and their demands. Let's get back to this. We've read The Cake and the Diamond, we've read Vernacus of the Lore. Let's keep moving to what I can only assume is the vampire barracks, or something of the sort. Let's grab this skull. More books we've already read. Well, let's move into this room with its adept-locked door. There we go. And here we've got a chest. Pretty solid loot in there. Nothing I needed, but that's just because I already have everything I need. Incident at Necrom. That's a new illusion skill book that we have not read yet. So let me pull it off the book list. I'm already at 100 illusion, but I now have 4 illusion boosts remaining, 2 skill books to find and 2 quests. Incident in Necrom by Jonquilla Bothi. The situation simply is this, said Flaxith, his face as chiseled and resolute as any statue. Everyone knows that the cemetery west of the city is haunted by some malevolent beings, and has been for many years now. The people have come to accept it. They bury their dead by daylight and are away before Masser and Secunda have risen and the evil comes forth. The only victims to fall prey to the devils within are the very stupid and the outsiders. It sounds like a natural solution to filtering out the undesirables then, laughed Nitra, a tall, middle-aged woman with cold eyes and thin lips. Where is the gold in saving them? From the temple. They're reopening a new monastery near the cemetery, and they need the land cleansed of evil. They're offering a fortune, so I accepted the assignment with the caveat that I could assemble my own team to split the reward. That's why I've sought you each out. From what I've heard, you, Nitra, are the best bladesman in Morrowind. Nitra smiled her unpleasant best. And you, Osmic, are a renowned burglar, though never once imprisoned. The bald-pated young man stammered, as if to refute the charges, before grinning back. I'll get you in where you need to go, but then it's up to you to do what you need to do. I'm no combatter. Anything Nitra and I can't handle, I'm sure Masitha will prove her mettle, Flaxith said, turning to the 4th member of the party. She comes on very good references as a sorceress of great power and skill. Masitha was the picture of innocence, round-faced and wide-eyed. Nitra and Osmic looked at her uncertainly, particularly watching her fearful expressions, as Flaxith described the nature of the creatures haunting the cemetery. It was obvious she had never faced any adversary other than man and Mer before. If she survived, they thought to themselves, it would be very surprising. As the foursome trudged toward the graveyard at dusk, they took the opportunity to quiz their new teammate. Vampires are filthy creatures, said Nitra. Disease-ridden, you know. They say off to the west they'll indiscriminately pass on their curse, together with a number of other afflictions. They don't do that here so much, but still you don't want to leave their wounds untreated. I take it you know something of the spells of restoration if one of us gets bit? I know a little, but I'm no healer, said Masitha meekly. More of a battle mage? Asked Osmic. I can do a little damage if I'm really close, but I'm not very good at that either. I'm more of an illusionist, technically. Nitra and Osmic looked at one another with naked concern as they reached the gates of the graveyard. There were moving shadows, stray specters among the wrack and ruins, crumbled paths stacked on top of crumbled paths. It wasn't a maze of a place. It could have been any dilapidated graveyard, but even without looking at the tombstones, it did have one very noticeable feature. Filling the horizon was the mausoleum of a minor Cyrodiilic official from the Second Era, slightly exotic but still harmonizing with the Dunmer graves in a complementary style called Decay. "It's a surprisingly useful school," whispered Mesitha defensively. "You see, it's all concerned with Magicka's ability to alter the perception of objects without changing their physical compositions. Removing sensual data, for example, to cast darkness or remove sound or smell from the air. It can help by—" A red-haired vampire woman leapt out of the shadows in front of them, knocking Flaxith on his back. Nitra quickly unsheathed her sword, but Mesitha was faster. With a wave of her hand, the creature stopped, frozen, her jaws scant inches from Flaxith's throat. Flaxith pulled out his own blade and finished her off. "That's illusion?" asked Osmic. "Certainly," smiled Mesitha. "Nothing changed in the vampire's form except its ability to move. Like I said, it's a very useful school." The four climbed up over the paths to the front gateway to the crypt. Osmic snapped the lock and disassembled the poison trap. The sorceress cast a wave of light down the dust-choked corridors, banishing the shadows and drawing the inhabitants out. Almost immediately they were set on by a pair of vampires, howling and screaming in a frenzy of bloodlust. The battle was joined, so no sooner were the first two vampires felled than their reinforcements attacked. They were mighty warriors of uncanny strength and endurance, but Mesitha's paralysis spell and the weaponry of Flaxith and Nitra clove through their ranks. Even Osmic aided the battle. "They're crazy," gasped Mesitha when the fight finally ended and she could catch her breath. "Quara, the most savage of the vampire bloodlines," said Flaxith. "We have to find and exterminate each and every one." Delving into the crypts, the group hounded out more of the creatures. Though they varied in appearance, each seemed to rely on their strength and claws for attacking, and subtlety did not seem to be the style of any. When the entire mausoleum had been searched and every creature within destroyed, the four finally made their way to the surface. It was only an hour until sunrise. There was no frenzied scream or howl. Nothing rushed forward towards them. The final attack, when it happened, was so unlike the others that the questers were taken utterly by surprise. The ancient creature waited until the four were almost out of the cemetery, talking amiably, making plans for spending their share of the reward. He judged carefully who would be the greatest threat, and then launched himself at the sorceress. Had Flaxith not turned his attention back from the gate, she would have been ripped to shreds before she had a chance to scream. The vampire knocked Mesitha across a stone, its claws raking across her back, but stopped its assault in order to block a blow from Flaxith's sword. It accomplished this maneuver in its own brutal way by tearing the warrior's arm from its socket. Osmic and Nitra set on it, but they found themselves in a losing battle. Only when Mesitha had pulled herself back up from behind the pile of rocks, weak and bleeding, that the fight turned. She cast a magical ball of flame at the creature, which so enraged it that it turned back to her. Nitra saw her opening and took it, beheading the vampire with a stroke of her sword. "So you do know some spells of destruction, like you said," said Nitra. "And a few spells of healing, too," she said weakly, "but I can't save Flaxith." The warrior died in the bloodied dust before them. The three were quiet as they traveled across the dawn-lit countryside back toward Necrom. Mesitha felt the throb of pain on her back intensify as they walked, and then a gradual numbness like ice spread through her body. "I need to go to a healer and see if I've been diseased," she said as they reached the city. "Meet us at the Moth and Fire tomorrow morning," said Nitra. "We'll go to the temple and get our reward and split it there." 3 hours later, Osmic and Nitra sat in their room at the tavern, happily counting and recounting the gold marks. Split 3 ways, it was a very comfortable sum. "What if the healers can't do anything for Mesitha?" smiled Osmic dreamily. "Some diseases can be insidious." "Did you hear something in the hall?" asked Nitra quickly, but when she looked there was no one there. She returned, shutting the door behind her. "I'm sure Mesitha will survive if she went straight to the healer, but we could leave tonight with the gold." "Let's have one last drink to our poor sorceress," said Osmic, leading Nitra out of the room toward the stairs down. Nitra laughed. "Those spells of illusion won't help her track us down, as useful as she keeps saying they are. Paralysis, light, silence, not so good when you don't know where to look." They closed the door behind them. Invisibility is another spell of illusion, said Masitha's disembodied voice. The gold on the table rose in the air and vanished from sight as she slipped it into her purse. The door again opened and closed, and all was silent until Osmic and Nitra returned a few minutes later. Alrighty. Let's keep on keeping on. We're pretty near the end now. We've got a bit of a we've got a bit of a distance to walk, but I think all that's left to kill are 2 vampires and 2 death hounds. One of those vampires, of course, will be very powerful. Vighar, the boss vampire, is almost certainly going to be quite tough. But I'm confident I can handle him, even if I have to beast form to do it. Onward, ever onward. Yes, this is the last room right here. See Vighar on his throne up there. One other vampire sitting next to him. And typically he turns the 3 death hounds loose on us. Let's search these bandits now, just in case he reanimates them. Here's Vighar. Yeah, well, I thought maybe I'd get to fight the Death Hounds alone. That obviously isn't happening. Well, they're not attacking me yet, though. They're doing, like, proximity wounds. That got him to come down. I see now. This isn't working either. Yeah, it's like I thought. I'm gonna need to beast form these guys. I don't think I can do it yet. I need to back off, get some wait time in. I might be able to kill him with my bow, actually. Let's give that a whirl. Not with the practice arrows, though. Let's go ahead and go full awesome. Ebony arrows. Oh, we can one-shot the Empire Fledgling.
Like we got
That's
ourselves
pretty
a
neat.
hero.
noticed that whenever they raise something, it's like I can't hurt them for a pretty substantial chunk of time, a lot of the time. We can kill Vighar this way. See how good the power perk is in particular. I don't think these damn. Got him, barely. Tell Dengear that Vighar is dead. We will. That's sufficient to clear Bloodlet Throne. So let me go take it off the clearable locations list. We probably won't get the chime until we manage to kill those death hounds, but... Anyway, steel sword from the bandit. Armor from the fledgling vampire. Here's Vighar. Healing 2. I have 3 death hounds to kill. Probably do that first. The cage release for the death hounds is up where Vighar was. I guess since he chose to just dive in and immediately fight, he needs the cage release. If you don't have Dawn Guard installed, death hounds don't exist. They're part of that blood. These cages will have wolves in them instead. Last net. There now. And there's the nice charm. We have, in fact, cleared the place. Well, we've got a little bit of busy work to do. Not a lot. Get up to where his throne was, we need to hit this pull chain. I should put away flames. I think the Death Hounds can probably take it, but I'm fairly confident that... Well, I'm certain that the 2 generic level 1 bandits cannot. Let's hit that lever by his throne. That'll lower those spikes we were looking at. We'll do the bandit first.
Thank you.
Down he goes. Let's do the other bandit next. Down she goes. We'll do this Death Hound next. Now, I know I've fought them at least once before, but the unique feature of Death Hounds, they're not nearly as bad as gargoyles, but when they bite you, it has an ice effect, which you might have seen. My stamina was depleting when that one was attacking me. Well, let's search these two, since we haven't done that yet. Then we just need to reanimate them both. And then move on and clear out here. glad I thought of archery, because now that I have power shot, it's a very viable option for dealing with powerful humanoid enemies like Vighar. Just about done now. Right, we are done with the whole reanimation dance. Let's just get back up to the throne now that we've cleared out this arena area. Sure this area is really clear. And here's the exit tunnel. I believe this is a silver vein. On our way out. Here's the boss chest. Pretty good stuff. Too bad the spell tome is one I already knew. But here is the barred door we found near the very beginning. So now we can make our way out. Just hoping that statue stays a statue. There are only 3 kinds of gargoyle. I think the other 2... Let's see, with werewolves it's werewolf brute and werewolf savage. I think for gargoyles it's gargoyle brute and gargoyle sentinel. But I'm not positive about that. Oh look, now we can search her. Get that last bit of stuff she didn't want to cough up. That's good. Alright. Right, back out the front door. Hop aboard our trusty steed. I'm going to fast travel back to Falkreath. I don't think I'm 5 hours away, but I think I am going to arrive in the daytime. It's one of the 2 dragons we killed, weirdly working his way up out of the ground. It's 6:34. We'll just wait until Grapevine Goods opens, and we will begin our offload. Most of it, anyway. I realized I forgot to drop some stuff off at the house.
Don't go setting the
that I
place on
meant to.
fire.
I'm sure you'll
okay?
find what you're looking for. Well met. Take a look.
Alright. All I need is an Amulet of Dibella and the Resist Poison enchantment. I was going straight to the hat because I knew it had 0 value. Just to see if I had any 0 value stuff I could go ahead and give away, and it turns out I do. Treasure map 5 is 0 value, but I want to hold on to it. Let's give him the rest of the stuff.
Steal anything from my shop and you'll regret it.
Alright, like usual, we'll reset him now.
Help! I'm being Can I get you some? Take a look.
Fifteen, 13, 8, 4. One, 0.
Be seen, stranger.
I need to look at something right quick. I haven't gotten a speech skill up in a long time. Well, it appears to be moving.
What do you think you're doing? Looking for... Take a look.
$142. 44. 8. Done.
Until next time. Until next time. What do you
Well, we're
think
not
you're
over
doing?
the coast anymore. That's the good news.
What do you need? Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
$10 gold. And we're done again.
All right then.
That was quick.
All right then. What do you think you're doing? Can I get you some? Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
Alright, we're done with apparel now. 52. 35. 3. Well done.
Until next time.
Another reset.
Help me! Help me! Looking for something? Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
$14, 2, 0.
All right then.
Hooray.
All right then.
Let's do this again.
What do you think you're doing? What do you need? Take a look. Until next time.
Alright, we're down to just the miscellaneous tab.
Help! I'm being attacked! Yes.
Still haven't made our way through
Oh, a
that
bit of this and a bit of
last
that.
little tick of the next speech rank, which is crazy to me. How long it takes, but oh well. There we go. Speaking of, speech to 94. Nine, 5, 3, 2. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reset him again.
What do you think you're doing? Need some? Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that.
Okay.
Until next time.
Now let's head to Lakeview, because I do have that Amulet of Arcade to drop off. Forgot to do it last time. And I also have the stuff that was bizarrely, inexplicably given a stolen tag there in Bloodlet Throne. Oh, but I forgot to do one important thing before I left. I need to turn in the quest to Dengear. I almost forgot, because it's so rare that I actually do quests. Let me pull up miscellaneous quests for Falkreath. This quest inside the creation kit is titled Dark Ancestor. At this hour, Dengear's probably inside Dead Man's Drink. I've been wrong before. I guess he's at his house.
You lost?
There he is.
I was Jarl once.
Vighar is dead.
My family thanks you. Take this as a token of our gratitude.
200 gold? That's all? For all that effort?
Mind what you say.
Douche.
It's all over this town.
Oh well. Quest is turned in. Dark Ancestor is
Be
complete.
mindful. My maid keep
Now let's go to Lakeview Manor. on a bona fide questing spree, though, because our next location is also a quest target. This one is a Radiant quest target, but our next target is South Fringe Sanctum, which happens to be where Runil sent us to find his journal. Anything I'm still carrying other than the amulet had that weird stolen tag on it. Guess it was just those ingredients. Let's put the Amulet of Archay in here. And let me make sure. There should be 3 of them. Good. Let's check Lucia's dresser. Oh, good. It has spawned something. A bunch of vendor trash, which I'll just hold on to. I need to offload it now. But she gave me 1 saber cat tooth. That's still vital for our other 2 houses. I still need 8 more of those. Now let's stash the 1 she just gave me. I'll hold on to the rest. Let's fast travel back to Bloodlet Throne and make our way to the next location, the way I like to do. Are you kidding me? What in the ever mother fuck is this? I'm sorry, that just doesn't seem right. I'm gonna try again. That was like 8 fucking bandits. Just decided to murder my horse. Well, if they're there again, pretty much means they're gonna be there. I'm not worried about fighting them. I am worried about saving my horse. If they're here again, I'll just hop on him and sprint away as fast as I can. Apparently somebody really wants to kill my horse. I have no idea what the damn deal is, but God, there's a ton of them. Well, I thought I was gonna make my way to South Fringe Sanctum in this video, but it doesn't seem particularly likely this pack of douchebags to deal with. And let's just start eliminating them. At least most of them seem to be pretty low level. There's one standard bandit. That's 2. That's 3. Definitely falling prey to some kind of worse than you. 9 bandits just standing at my fast travel point. That's 4. That's 8. Then this bizarre ordeal will be over. Well, naturally I need to heal. I really need to end the video in a timely fashion. I'm almost certainly going to have to offload again with this much carry weight. Oh well. I'll make sure Horsey's still good. Attaboy! He's all good. Well, the thing is, all 9 of these bodies are candidates for reanimation, so in the interest of it not taking forever, oh, right, because they're the strange, glitchy sort, like the ones that popped up at Green Spring Hollow earlier, they're not going to be subject to reanimation. It is a glitch, I just don't quite know what the glitch is. Anyway, let's start making our way up this road from the front gate. As long as I don't run into anything else, I should still be able to do what I intended to do, despite that little distraction. We're on the road heading back north, and it's gonna cut east right here. I'm gonna harvest all these snowberry plants along the way, because, you know, because that's what I do. And that cave you can see on the compass to the east is my next target. I'm just going to keep heading that way. You know, check to the sides of the road, but I'm not seeing anything anywhere, which is a comfort at this point. After burning my way through 9 bandits who were there for... It's obvious they're glitched, because their bodies won't reanimate properly. Anyway, you can kind of see just a little trail here to the left off of the main one. That's where we need to go. Marked by a cairnstone. We can get... spell sword, huh? Well, I was hoping... I guess that's still a possibility. Barely, but we can. So now South Fringe Sanctum is on the map, so I'm gonna give this spell sword the standard treatment right quick. And fast travel back to Fall Creek. Then fast travel back here. And call it a video. There's actually some exploration I need to do up that main road, because it doesn't actually go... Here, actually, I'll show you right quick. There are a few plants, but the main point is as you come up here, you can see a gate, which I believe is probably the gate to Cyrodiil. Let's mine this ore vein real quick. And note, there's nothing to do with it. It's kind of just there. To the Moonstone Vein. If you go around the back of these rocks, I believe you can find another one. Right over here. Alright, we have that garbage over with. Let's go offload one more time. Just all that trashy bandit gear. Then we can fast travel to South Fringe Sanctum, which I still need to take off of my location list, so I'll do that right quick while it's loading. 10:28, naturally. Gonna wait inside the inn.
Be more careful with those.
Come on in.
Good.
Food, warm drinks, and water.
Hey now, you be careful with that one.
9, 8, 7. I have some idea where that group of bandits was from now that I think about it. I have a strange feeling that I'm gonna arrive at
some point we should
Fort
try to
Newgrad, the place I'm going after South Fringe, and I'm gonna find it empty because I already wiped out its bandit retinue who, for whatever reason, got transported to Bloodlet Throne. But I'm not positive. We'll find out after South Fringe. 2 videos from now when we go to Fort Newgrad. Alteration to 83. That's something. Something good, I should say. This video's getting long. I think I've been going nearly 2 hours. Sorry about that.
Got something for just about everybody in here. Give a
Bloodlet was
holler if
longer than I
well met.
remembered.
Trinkets, odds and ends, that sort of thing.
I really had it in my head that it was an easy one-go dungeon. Well, there was more going on there, for sure. I sold all those bandit weapons, no problem. We'll probably have to reset them once. But I would say probably only once. 'Cause none of them had anything particularly good. Alright,
Steal anything from my shop
let's
and you'll
reset
regret
him once. That's ought to do it.
Help me! Help! Can I get you something? Take a look.
Still disease immunity. See, we sold all the weapons already. There's all the armor, all the potions, all the food. Ingredients, all the books. Not
Be
quite
serious.
all of the ore.
Ranger.
Had to do it twice. Oh well.
What do you think you're doing? Looking for... Take a look.
Let's sell him those last 4 moonstone ores.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can fast travel back to South Fringe Sanctum, and I can end the video. Finally. That bandit glitch. Man, that pissed me off. I don't know why. It's not like it was that hard to deal with. I feel like an area I just cleared, literally just cleared, should be safe to fast travel to.
Somebody help. Trying to end this.
You have got to be kidding me. Alright, fuck this. I'll handle him next video, because I've got to shut it down. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Let's Play Skyrim. Next time, I'll deal with another fucking encounter, a master vampire, and then go clear South Fringe Sanctum. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.